the channel. As you know, I'm your boy Elyk-G. And today we got another follow-up video for you on our recent mishaps of the engine blowing. Though a bad thing, I'm going to use this as a moment of learning and of teaching. I know a lot of you, I had a bunch of great responses on the last video that I put out showing the in-depth and up-close look at the blown engine. And so I figure, why not give my response on why I think things like this happen? Because if you look around online, most people who run a big bore run into this issue. At some point in time, their engine fails or the piston fails. And largely, I believe that has to do with how the pistons are made. So like there's three types of pistons. There's cast pistons, there's forged pistons, and then there's like a hybrid action where it's like partially forged or partially cast or something like that. I didn't know a whole bunch of research on it, but with these pistons, if you were to look at a stock piston versus the big bore piston, it is blatantly obvious the difference between the two, and where you could see one would fail over the other, you know, where the stock piston makes out as far as being able to give us the long mileage that it does give us. Because I was able to get over 10K out of my, I think it was about 10K when I did the big bore, maybe a little over, out of my stock piston, took it out, and you'll actually see it today, and it looked fine. Carbon buildup was normal, but as far as like the actual piston integrity itself was great. And I'm not sure, but I want to say that they're forged when they're stock. I really don't know, and I'm looking it up to try to find out. Like I said, I'm going to use this as a learning experience. But today I'm here to show you the difference between the two pistons, and then also give my feedback, because I had my homie Mike, he hit me up and he asked me, he's like, yo, what's the benefit of a big bore? Is it really worth going big bore after you have to buy all the computer and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to explain that to you, and I'm going to explain the difference, because he compares it to getting a 250 engine and swapping it. But let's check these pistons out. So the first one I'm going to show you is, actually, I'm going to show you the big bore piston first. So this is what it should have looked like when it came up out that engine. Okay? Wrist pinholes, skirts, you know, oil, compression ring slots, intake. As you can see, I'm clocking this one to possibly install. But this is what it looks like. And I'm going to show you the stock piston, and the weak points are going to be blatantly obvious to where, like, if you were to compare them, where one's weaker than the other. So with these two side by side, you can see, now they obviously do it to shed weight, but this piston has significantly less material around the wrist pin. So at high RPMs, at a lot of stress and whatnot, I'm willing to bet that in my engine, from all the high RPM riding and wheelies and whatnot, one of these little guys right here started to fracture and crack and broke off. And after that broke off, that's probably when I first started hearing my little bit of clatter sound, because it weakens the connection here. And I was probably getting some play going on, and these skirts were then tapping and kind of doing this and hitting the walls of the cylinder as it, if you can imagine that. And then as you beat on it more and more and more, since there's a lot more stress going on, you know, because one's missing one, then it's inevitable that either this side's gonna break, or this side, like one of the other ones, is gonna break as well. And then you have what happened to me happen. You look at a stock piston, high RPMs, yada, yada, yada. If it's going, the whole thing is going. You're not losing these skirts. Like this material here is just significantly more. Like, everything about it is beefier, and I believe it's to last those long miles. This is what 10K looks like on a piston. That's just some carbon buildup, exhaust intake side. Clean it up, put some new rings on it, toss it back in, she's good to go. But yeah, that's the difference between the two. And the difference between whether or not you would want to go 250 kind of deal, or with that stock piston and the big bore, and if it's worth it. So when you think about the big bore, you need to remember that you've essentially built a race bike. These parts are not meant and made for longevity in use. Like, yeah, longevity in racing, yeah, you get a whole bunch of races out of it, but at some point you're gonna hear something and they're gonna swap that piston and redo the top. Like, a lot of times they redo the top ends in these builds on these bikes all the time. So you go through pistons. If you're looking for longevity, obviously stock is the way to go because you have the strength in the piston. But if you do understand the fact, like me for instance, if I were to go 143 again, the moment I hear any kind of off sound, buy a new piston, swapping it out, just like that, because something in this is going. Because like I said, these I want to say might be cast aluminum that they machine. I'm not sure, but apparently cast is weaker than forged from what they say. And yeah, if you were to do it, I would say put it in. If you hear anything weird, hear anything funky, any kind of chatter whatsoever, aside from valve noise, because I did have an issue where one of my valve retainers collapsed on itself, so I was hearing more valve chatter. Quieted it up right after we put the stock ones back in. If you hear any noise, tear the top end down, do the piston. Treat it like a race bike. If they hear something, they're going to tear it down, they're going to swap it out, get it fixed, keep it moving. You have to do that, because if you don't, it's not lasting long after you hear the noise. Like, literally, it was at the end of the last slot session before it blew. The end of the last slot session, I was coming in and heard a little bit of extra noise. Then after that, I rode it during the week and everything, and I wouldn't hear the noise, and it wasn't there. And then I would come, even when I was out riding around, cruising around, and then I would park at places, wouldn't hear it when I would go slow down. But then I would get back towards the end of my ride, and then I would hear it, and I guess it heated up a little bit more. So yeah, at some point, that's when, things were going bad. And in that moment, if I would have torn my top end down, I could probably swap the piston out and wouldn't have had an issue. I'd still be rolling to this day. So, in a long-winded answer to your question, do I think it's worth it to go big bore? Honestly, yes. It is fun. The initial expense, if you think about it, yes, it is a lot. You got to get the head, jug, everything, all that stuff. But once you have it, I forget how much it is, but a jug and a piston doesn't cost nearly as much as like the head costs. And if you catch it early enough, you won't have to buy a new jug. You can hone out the jug and just put a new piston in it, clock the rings and keep it moving. So is it worth it? I believe so, yes. Am I going to go back 143? I don't know, to be honest with you, because I've got some schemes I'm working on when it comes to a Ruthie 2.0. I'm going to leak that out right here. But yeah, stuff I've been thinking about and wanting to do just for, a change and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. I might go back 125. I have all types of stuff. My last 125 setup, and I didn't even have the big throttle body, could do like 78, almost 80. So I know with a larger throttle body, I could get more out of it. And then, I know how to wheelie, so yanking it up, things will be better than before. But yeah, I'm gonna not ramble on. One last view for those of you who might be sitting there saying, hey, show it some more, show it some more. Like I said, big differences in space and material used and whatnot. Why one may last longer than the other. But until next time, and you guys should get to see the kind of difference in size between the two pistons. Let me see if I can get a good angle there. There you go. That's the difference in size. But yeah, if you liked the video, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't already, if you're new, subscribe. If you're not new, tell somebody to come subscribe and come see this hotness. Anyway, everybody be safe out there. We'll be back up and running, and my surprise is coming along, my project. But until next time, be